Now, Andrea, it can be argued that recent globalization has greatly impacted the production and dissemination of contemporary art. Is this shift to a more open and inclusive community reflected in the visual arts activity here in Ottawa? If so, how? And if not, can and should this be an objective moving forward?
Yes, I've thought about that a little, well, actually a lot. And so to answer the first part of that, I would say that yes, the globalization is evident in the activity in the Ottawa art scene. And there are three exhibitions that came to mind almost instantly which reflect that. There was Zenshen View at the City of Ottawa Art Gallery a few summers ago that was a marvelous exhibition of an artist that worked between Shanghai and Paris, and that was really a precious gem of a show. There's also Howie Tsui, who is at the Carleton University Art Gallery and the Ottawa Art Gallery in the same year he exhibited. And Rahab Nazal's exhibition last year called DBZ at Gallery 101 also really came to mind, as well as the ongoing programming of Stéphane Saint-Laurent has been doing at Saw Gallery, and the Bodies in Trouble show, which really had an interesting global perspective this summer, was quite marvelous. With that said, it could be daunting, or one can think if you're a curator or someone that works for a publicly funded institution, oh, it's so expensive to have the global content and to bring people in from faraway places. But some of those, many of these artists are Canadian who live in Ottawa and who have done the traveling and the research in their own practice. So Rahab Nazal's work deals with a globally relevant issue of the Palestinian situation in the occupied territories. Howie Tsui has done extensive research on the visual culture of Asia, and Zenshen Liu is perhaps not a local, but from Shanghai, and I believe also lives in Paris. But we have local resources that can give a more global flavor. But to answer the second part of your question, basically, have we achieved the sense of global perspective? Is this desirable? Is it possible? And I would say yes. Basically on all accounts, this is a desirable objective moving forward for four key reasons. If I could possibly break it down, I think a sense of a global perspective, and I use the word global rather than international, because international, to me, seems to suggest a dialogue between maybe two or three or a small handful of countries or nation states, whereas a sense of globalization suggests a movement of ideas that involves mass media, the internet, and a very, very broad, much broader network movement of ideas and culture and economic clout. But in any case, the desire for a global perspective in the Ottawa arts scene, I think, is useful for four key reasons. Basically, it would reflect the critically engaged contemporary art production that has existed here for decades and centuries, here as well as in other places around the world. Second point, it would better reflect the diversity of artists that live and work in Ottawa, who are informed by global and hybrid heritages and identities. And third, would not only increase the cultural richness of the Ottawa scene, and therefore the Canadian scene, because we are the capital, but it would position us as more competitive within the leading cities in contemporary art right now. London, New York, possibly Toronto, Paris, Tehran, Shanghai, Sao Paulo, Dubai, Johannesburg, etc. There's a huge list that keeps growing, actually. And the fourth key reason, not only contribute to the cultural richness of Ottawa, but foster dialogues with other art centers in the world. So in artist, a curator, a critic, or a researcher travels to an international location to do work, she or he helps put Ottawa on the map for that community and for the professional artists or curators that are met there. So one is as a traveler, one is basically almost like the emissary for the culture here. Lasting connections and cultural exchanges become possible. It's not just that we want to bring art from elsewhere here, but we want to create a possibility for Ottawa art to go somewhere else. So I think embracing a globalized perspective seems to be something that can be done, from what I understand, best perhaps on a person-to-person basis. Maybe that's where the beginning is, through individual contacts and relationships that are nurtured and sending of information, and then bringing in the institutions. But it doesn't need to be on a grand scale, but simply through asking for people's names and then going to meet them. And I was thinking about other avenues through which a sense of a global perspective could be fostered. And for my position as a member of the faculty in visual arts, we have tried to change the undergraduate curriculum so that it, in the first year intro survey classes, the art history 101, we also have an art theory class, which is an introductory level class. Now there is a mandate for global perspective. So these 2 out of the 12 lectures will be about art from beyond the Western Canada. So Africa, South Asia, East Asia, Middle East. So that is now in place. And we hope that this training helps all these students that are going to go out into the arts community and work and not be limited to the European or North American canon. So the undergraduate course content is changing. There's a possibility of invitation of guest speakers to the department. There's also the individual programs of travel and research that professors are doing. In the department, we have people traveling to Korea, to India, to Australia, to the Arctic, to Iran, to many other places. So, I know that we hope to contribute to the globalization of the scene. And there's also the graduate students in the department because there is a new grad program, an MFA program. And so right now we have, there are 12 students at a time in place, and they come from different cultural heritages and even coming from different cities within Canada and having a variety of languages to speak is really a contribution to a sense of knowledge and knowledge sharing. There's also exhibitions and curatorial mandates that can try to balance Canadian content with global content. I know with artist-run centers or publicly funded institutions, we have and should have a mandate to exhibit Canadian artists. But the challenge will be to balance that with a sense of the global scene. If one doesn't have the money to travel very far to learn things, there's of course the media, the news media, but also I'm a little hesitant about the news media these days because of the emphasis on hard stories that are always put out and a lack of understanding of the reality of cultural, local cultures and individuals. So I would suggest that books, memoirs, and films are a really good way to gain access to global content, and we have access to all of that here in theaters like the Bytown and excellent bookstores as well. Artists in residence programs is very important, visiting scholars. More international students would be something I'd like to see at the University of Ottawa, but because of the complicated funding issue from the federal government, to have international students is not financially viable for the universities, and this is a huge failing. This is a real lack of an opportunity for the academic community. But to wrap up, I just want to share with you an insight that Dawood Bey imparted to me and about 1,000 other people. Dawood Bey is an African-American photographic artist and professor who works in Chicago. And last February, he was the keynote speaker at the College Art Association annual conference, which took place in Chicago. And the key idea of his speech was basically to ask curators, critics, artists, art historians, any cultural worker to really go beyond the canon with which they're most familiar. He basically suggested that that we all get out of our comfort zone and we have to take a more concerted effort to do that. Yes, it's great to always keep studying, especially if you're a prof, to go into that area of specialization, just really be the expert on that one area, which you did in grad school. But the thing is, for professors, curators, every artist and cultural worker, his mandate, he suggested, was to discover the marginalized and unrepresented artists and art cultures that exist, the ones that don't have a voice. It's our responsibility to look for them and find them and discover and learn from them and help if we have any access to a kind of platform to bring them forward and not just think, well, if it's not already written about or discovered, it's not very good. So basically to broaden our own canons. That's my last one. Pardon. Thank you.